In the early 18th century, a little mermaid sat at the edge of a mighty British sailing ship. She admired the captain with his wide shoulders and fine complexion, his beautiful uniform. The way he commanded the ship drove the little siren crazy. His authority, his masculinity. She gazed and imagined she had legs. She imagined marrying the captain and sailing the seas. She wondered how far the distance inland was, giving birth to children with legs and running in the sand across the shore. As she daydreamed, she was spotted by a sailor. The man is quick to act and lands a net on her. She struggles to get out, but it's no use. She begs to be released, even claiming she's a princess. The sailors aboard the ship laugh. Wild sirens were hard to capture and said to have the loveliest voices in the world. An old man among the group takes the captain aside. The captain nods vigorously at the old man's words and orders the men to free her of the net and secure her with ropes instead. They tie one rope from each arm and lift her in the air. She hangs above the deck in a big Y shape, her arms spread wide and her glistening tail swinging slowly beneath her. The captain comes down to inspect his prize. She has milky white skin, bright blue eyes, and fire-red hair. The captain glances at the old man, who nods in return. The captain, on cue, takes a folding knife from his pocket and slices the thin material covering the creature's breasts. He takes a step back and admires the siren. He's never seen one up close. From the waist up, she's human. The captain thinks back to the stories his father told him when he was a boy, particularly the tale of the great Captain Odysseus. The story went that he had to order his men to tie him to the mast of his own ship to keep him from diving to his death, called by the song of the siren. It was said that the beauty of the wild siren could enchant even the strongest-minded man. Our captain hung a painting depicting the story in his quarters. It had belonged to his father and was very dear to him. He spent hours looking at it as a boy. A strange thought entered his mind. Perhaps it was that painting that inspired him to join the Royal Navy. Finally, he had met the siren. "Do you have a name, demon?" asked the captain. She flushed at having the captain, her first love, so close to her. Having her exposed breast in not only his, but the view of the entire crew. She wondered fleetingly if their genitals were like those of her species. She wondered if it would hurt if they made love. She felt their roving eyes. It seemed the captain was trying to find her cunt. "Oh, please don't hurt me. I'm no danger to you," said the siren. "A name, demon," he replied, serious. "Hélas, sir. Please don't sound so cruel. I would like nothing but to make you happy." The crew cheers. "I know how you can make me happy, honey." They roar with laughter. "I've heard demons like you have lovely voices. Sing for us, siren." And from her mouth came the most beautiful sound. This would have driven any civilized person to tears, but the barbarians were unable to fully grasp the quality of their prize. "Bravo, bravo," said the captain as he clapped his hands, and the rest of the crew cheered along. "They love me," thought the siren. She could not hide her happiness, the innocent one. A big smile was on her face. She spontaneously reacted. "Do you like it? I could sing to you in your trip. Oh, please take me with you. I love you so dearly. Please, give me a child with legs. Maybe there's a spell that can give me legs? All I want is to run into the sand and be your bride. Oh, Captain, Captain, please take me." Many of the crew are laughing almost to tears. This sounded as ridiculous to them as a man marrying a dolphin sounds to us. The captain smiles. He says no words, but begins to lick her neck. She's beautiful, he thought. If only she were human, he would have killed every last one of his men to have her. She was also very young, looked about 15, he wagered. So innocent of the wicked world. Her skins at first tasted of salt, as the old man had said, but sure enough, as he continued to lick, a sweet flavor came. Uncanny. Her breasts were fairly large. Too large for any human of 15 years old, but her face and character still so young. He held them, and a big shot of milk came out. The old man was right. He began to suck at her nipple, and the most delicious liquid came forth. As he suckles, she begins to writhe. She moans and screams in pleasure as the captain greedily enjoys her nectar. She orgasms. The captain finds this to be hilarious. He lets go of her breasts and lifts both fists in the air as a sign of triumph. "Well, she certainly has the needs of any woman, my lads." The crew approves. Let's see here. Where is her twat? He digs inside the scales and finds the creature's cunt and asshole. It was much bigger than that of any human woman, yet so soft and delicate, a sensation the rough scales could never have foretold. The captain begins to finger fuck her to the cheering on of the crew. She has mixed emotions. It's so humiliating to be doing this in public, yet if he's doing this, it must mean he loves her. He makes her come not once but twice. The men are desperate, horny as fuck after all they've witnessed. He gets close to the siren, face to face, and whispers, I know a way to make you human. You'll have your legs and we'll be together, but you'll have to trust me. We can have children and I'll show you the continent. We can be happy together, do you understand? Oh, yes, yes, thank you. Thank you, you'll make me so happy. The captain needs to calm her down. She could not stop trying to kiss him, and he needed to keep whispering. He continues, Listen, but you'll have to endure something very painful. Anything, love. Anything as long as I can be with you and turn into a human. I can't wait for all the wonders I'll see. You'll have all you want, Ella, but first you have to promise that you'll trust me. Oh, yes, yes, I trust you, my love. I'll be able to enjoy life on this ship. Please, please, though, let me go. This rope is beginning to hurt. In a minute. There's something we must do first, but remember, you'll not enjoy it. But it has to be done. You have to be strong. Once we land, we'll have our witch doctor work his spell. Yes, darling of mine, please, please hurry and free me. The captain gestures to a boy to grab a bucket and instructs him to milk the siren as he would a cow. Every last drop is squeezed out. She orgasms again and again, her face red with embarrassment. The poor virgin girl. The milk is secured in its container and left in the captain's studio. She hangs there panting for what seems like hours, but soon after, out comes the old man. Ella notices that he has a big bucket of what seems like hot, shiny rocks. He places the coals right under her. What's going on? She asks. She begins to panic. All the happiness she was experiencing only moments ago becomes terror. Let me go! Let me go, please! Please, what are you doing? Two men walk up to her and grab each arm. She is relieved for a moment, but the bucket of coals are still there. She's confused. Maybe they'll mark her as in the story she heard about their working animals. The old man begins to touch her tail. He uses an ink line to draw across her. It's a little under her genitals. Ella believes this is to make it easier for the captain to find her cunt. She begins to imagine their first night together. She wonders what her mother would have to say. She wishes she would have asked her more questions on how to please a man. Ready, lads? Asks the old man. Both nod. The siren looks at the one to her right. The one on the left covers her eyes with a shirt. At once a sharp pain enters her from behind. It hits her once, twice, 3 times. The ropes are lowered and she's placed inside the bucket by the two men. A terrible pain she's never felt before. It's the first time she is burned. The scent of cooking meat wafts over the crew and the siren shrieks. The sound brings nightmares to the sailors for months. The mermaid is still confused. She opens her eyes to see the men in a circle before her, apparently struggling to catch something. One lifts it up and shouts, I've got it! For a second she believes the pain must have made her mad. She looks down and confirms, though, the scene to her horror. Her eyes move through the crowd to settle on her tail, moving, as if alive, with a mind of its own, in the arms of a dirty sailor. She begins to shout and cry, I trusted you! Why did you do this to me? Why? Why? The sailors cover her mouth and leave her propped in the bucket of coals, still tied in the Y shape from her arms. She listens as the men eat. How they boasted that the siren tail was the best meat in the sea. How it's no comparison with the domesticated siren. She wept at the thought of having her kind as food for these human barbarians. She was used, deceived. She felt so lonely. She remembered her father warning her not to go to the surface, not to get near any ship. She missed him now. She wished she would have listened. The captain leaves her in that position for an entire day. She watches as the men work. They would pull out their cocks in front of her to pleasure themselves. Once the captain came back, her beautiful hair was dry with the cum of the crew. He told her that this had to be done, to remember the promise she made. He assured her that once on land she would grow legs, and they would be together and have a family. She believed him and was taken to his room. She ate and drank and was washed. For the next weeks the captain kept her locked up with her. She was milked daily. She learned to perform oral sex since fucking a cut-off fishtail disgusted the good Christian captain. She spoke to him about her world, he of his. The captain slowly began to fall in love with her. His guilt began to consume him. He swore that from this moment on he would never let any more harm come to her. But circumstance rules a man's choice. The crew felt cheated for having the captain keep the siren. They felt it belonged to them, and they spoke amongst themselves. He was a mediocre leader anyway. Perhaps he should be relieved of his duty. Having a mutiny on his hands for the noble creature he once called a demon created a dilemma. He opted for self-preservation, and with tears in his eyes gave his prize to his men. He explained to her that if they did not, he would be killed, and they would not be able to be together. He didn't have the heart to tell her there was no witch doctor, and she would never have legs, or a tail, again. She learned to use her arms to walk around the ship. She was mouth-fucked by every dirty sailor on there. Someone pulled out her teeth in order to give them more pleasure, and also to remove the possibility of being bitten. The captain still retained the right to milk her, claiming that it would be traded for goods once landing. But as her smile faded and her illusions of what humans were, her milk became sour. She aged 40 years on that ship. Her beautiful white skin, not used to the sun, became dark, rusty, and wrinkled. The captain could not bear to look at her. He could not bear the shame of his actions. He thought about God's judgment. He locked himself in his studio reading his Bible, obsessed in finding a way to make it up to the good Lord, to clean his name with noble deeds. Despite his actions, the siren's heart broke with his departure. She hid inside herself, finally allowing consciousness to slip away. She became like a trained animal with no thoughts. When told to come, she went. When told to suck, she sucked. When kicked and told to go, she left. Her diet consisted of semen. The day eventually came when they did land on shore. A spark of hope came to her. The shell she had hid inside to endure her tortured existence was moved aside just for the moment. She asked the sailors if she would get her legs here. She had not spoken in months, and they laughed and told her to go talk to the captain. She began to bang on his door. She hid it for an entire hour. She begged and cried. She said she loved him. He had promised her. The captain cried also. He prayed to God and asked for guidance. He picked up his gun and took it and looked up and asked for forgiveness. Finally, he opened his doors, and she grabbed a hold of his legs, sobbing and screaming, "You left me with them! You left me with them, and I was alone! You left me with them!" He looks down at her. Her face and hair was a mess. She was an old lady. She had been suppressing all her suffering and let it all go at once, in that moment, at the feet of the man she loved. She looked up at him. They locked eyes. He could still see the little girl in the face of that aged woman. He cried out in her voice, in her naivety, "Please, please pick me up and hold me. I feel so dirty, so ugly, so unloved. Please love me. You told me to go with them in the day. I went to save your life. I went so we could be together. You took my tail, my virginity, my dignity. Please, please don't tell me it's been in vain. Love me. Love me." The princess sees the tears coming from his eyes. She had never seen him cry before. This was not the proud captain she had observed the day she was captured, the one she dreamed of every day, in and out, and the sailors raping her toothless mouth. He lifts up his hand, and she notices a strange metallic object in it. "Please forgive me," he says. He puts it on her forehead, his hand shaking. "God, please give me the strength," he shouts. He looks down at her one last time. "Love?" she whispers. He gives one loud shout of frustration and puts the gun to his own head and pulls the trigger. The loud thunder frightens her. She looks up and sees the captain on the floor, a pool of blood growing wide. Shaking like a dog, she crawls to him. There's a gaping hole in his head, but his face is intact. "Oh, no! No, no, no! No, what did you do?" She begins to pick up the pieces of brain and skull around her and try to put them back together. She realizes it's useless and begins to sob. She holds his face and sings to him. The siren sings all night. The locals gathered on shore and wept at the misery portrayed by the beautiful voice. She sang for her broken dreams, her lost beauty, unseen family, promised children. She sang for the lost ones she loved more than herself. This has been The Little Mermaid and Sick and Wrong Storytelling. We hope you've enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe to the Sick and Wrong podcast and give Dee and Lance a 5-star rating. The true masters of the craft. Keep it sick, keep it wrong.